took away our scholarship, which we were kind of counting on.
But then we remembered that we have a college fund with our dear financial advisor, Dawn.
You don't have enough money.
Okay, right here. It says right here in this account, we have $401,000.
Jackpot.
You missed it.
Nope, that says you have a 401k account. If you liquidate that right now, you'll have, you know, maybe $5,000.
So what happened to the other $396,000?
Boom.
Gotcha.
What is wrong with the two of you?
That was Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler, of course, in a scene from the movie The House, clearly confused about what a 401k is, and they are not alone. A lot of people struggle with a 401k because people just don't understand what it is and how it works and what the benefits are to them. So Rachel, let's just start with the basics. Explain what a 401k is.
Okay, so a 401k is an employer-sponsored plan, meaning that your company will have the ability for you to start to save for retirement through them. Now, this is your own money that you're deferring from your salary into the 401k, so into your retirement plan. That money will not be taxed, so you'll lower your overall income, and will grow tax deferred until later on when you take the money out. So that you have the ability in a 401k, depending on who it's with, to invest in different vehicles. So what I would say is that when you're looking at millennials to this audience, a lot of people are not taking advantage of it. So that's a really big mistake, because the earlier that you save, the more that you'll have later. I mean, you're compounding that money on it, even if you just do a little amount. Plus, there's a lot of companies that will match. So you're essentially giving up free money by not putting money in.
So there's a statistic out there. 31% of millennials, Scott, are contributing to a retirement account. That's according to a new survey. You know, again, I think back to, I graduated from college, I started working on Wall Street, but the job was initially very low paying, and I remember they said, we have a 401k plan, do you want to contribute to it? And I was like, I'm keeping every single dollar that you give me. I don't care what's going to happen, because when I'm 59 and a half or whatever it is, that's so far in the future, that's in the 2000s. And I don't worry about that, right? I remember thinking to myself, the 2000s sounded like some Buck Rogers time, and I'm thinking, like, I need to keep the money that I have right now. But 31%, so it's still the same. Young people are not putting money into their 401ks.
Look, it's tragic, that number, because you're missing out on compounding interest, right? That's interest on interest. And the way that you benefit from compounding interest is if you have a long time horizon on your side. So if you make $50,000 a year, you save 10% of that at 22 years of age. By 65, you'll have over $1 million in your account. And that's only if you make $50,000 a year for the rest of your life and about a 6 or 7% annual market return. The markets lately have been returning a lot more. The nice thing, though, about 401ks is that the money that you contribute comes out of your paycheck and right into the 401k. So essentially, you don't even notice it unless you look at your pay stub and say, oh, $200 a month went to my 401k. So it's so important to take advantage of.
Marcus, you've said that people are robbing their old selves by not saving today.
Yes.
I mean, give me a little color into that.
Every day you're not saving, you're reaching into your elderly person's pockets. And so to put some numbers to that, if you start at age 20, it's $300. And it's before taxes, so it's $300 untaxed dollars. If you wait till you're a dinosaur like myself at 35, it jumps to $947. Looking at it yesterday, it was a little depressing. And if you wait until you're 40, I believe it's $1,600. So that compounded interest, it extrapolates in how it affects you. So you are just hurting the elderly pockets when you want to be laid back in the porcelain tubs that I see in the commercials along the beach.
Right.
I don't know why and how they got the tubs out there, but if that's the lifestyle that you would like to have, then you need to start as early as possible. And the greatest investment benefit, and if it gets complicated, is start young and be consistent.
You know, one of the slides that we used to use with clients when we were trying to explain compounding interest, and the numbers may not be exactly right, but I recall, it was a slide that showed if you put $1,000 into the market in 1920 and you left it alone and you did nothing else, you didn't add any money into that account, you put $1,000 into the market, you'd have over $1 million doing absolutely nothing. So, Rachel, explain compounding interest for the young people out there who may not understand what we used to call the power of compounding interest.
So compounding interest is the fact that you're not just earning a certain percentage on the original amount, you're earning it on, so if you have let's say you're earning 5%, and you put in $100, so that's 105, but then the next year if you're earning 5%, it's not just on the original 100, now it's on the 105.
Right.
And therefore, the number just keeps rolling forward and forward. You know, the other thing that I think we're doing a big mistake is if there's been studies, 25% of millennials are actually taking money out of their 401k, which
is a big mistake.
Big mistake. So you're paying ordinary income and you're paying a 10% penalty. That's not the money we're supposed to be touching.
Right.
The other thing, just quickly with 401ks, fees, right? Anything you invest in a 401k, you're going to pay a percentage of that balance to the fund provider. Look through the 401k statement and check what the fee is. It might be disguised as what's called an expense ratio. That's a fancy term for fee. Any fund that's sort of complicated that deals with dividends or volatility, you're going to pay a higher fee. Keep it simple. Go with funds that track the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. To your point on the 1920s, I mean, if you look at a 100-year chart of the Dow or the S&P, stocks go up.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, right? Which is that, and we were talking about this a little earlier, that people will see the stock market gyrations and they'll think, market's going up, I need to get in, or market's going down, I need to get out. But the point of that chart was the market has been extremely volatile, but the trend line was up, Jeannie, and that is what really people should be focusing on, the long-term performance of their investments, their 401k, as opposed to what they see happening even over 3 years.
Right. I mean, the long term is the game that you want to play, especially when you're in your younger years. And another retirement vehicle is the Roth IRA, right? So earlier on in your career, you put away the max that you can, say from age 25 to 55, right? Every year religiously. The only thing you do is you put $5,500 away, and you're in that lower income bracket, and you can do that. I think it's about $118,000 if you make below that. And you do that every single year, and you become a millionaire. So virtually, your 65-year-old millionaire self will be thanking your 25-year-old self. It's that idea of letting your money grow, compound interest, according to Einstein, is the most powerful force in the universe.
Compounding interest.
Yes,
the most powerful force in the universe.
Yes. Pretty smart guy.
I take his word for it because he seemed to know a couple of things about life and things. Rachel, here's the question that I think a lot of people sitting in this audience are going to have. Okay, you guys are making sense. I need to have a plan. I need to have a 401k. The question is, how much do I need to figure out how to make it to retirement? How much money will I need when I retire? It's hard to know. It's hard to know, right? But people will say to themselves like, well, okay, I don't know how much I need.
I think it's hard to know. One thing we have to keep in mind is the word inflation. So things are just getting more and more and more and more expensive. We all hear the whole story about grandma saying, oh, when I used to buy a carton of milk, it was only $1.
Right.
So things are just going to get more and more expensive, which is why we have to start saving now. In terms of what's the magic amount that a 22-year-old is going to need in retirement, I mean, there's no real amount. Everybody's different. Some people have a lot of money in retirement and some people don't. So I think the idea is you should save as much as you can. And then as you get closer, and as I said, when you bring in your financial advisor and your life gets more complex, we actually will do financial planning. And part of that financial plan for almost everybody is retirement. So we will look at things like 3 different L's, liquidity, which is our emergency fund, which everybody has to be focused on, your longevity, which is the money that you're living off of, and then ultimately legacy, which no one here has to be very concerned about now. But the idea is to just put as much away as you can now, and then as you get to that point, definitely will be part of your plan.
Also remember, we're all living longer. So if you're in your 20s, we talk about the retirement age of 65. I mean, you're going to need enough money to live till you're 100, maybe even more. So that's why saving for retirement now is even more important. I mean, think about how great compounding interest is over, an 80-year period versus a 40-year period.
Absolutely.
And not only are we all living longer, but women are living longer than men. So when you do start a family and you say, you know what, I'm going to default to my husband. He's a little bit better with money. He knows where all the accounts are. I mean, that is the biggest mistake you can make because there's a
Especially with my girlfriend. She would never default to me. She knows I'm terrible
really?
with money. She's like, I'm handling the finances.
I don't believe that. But 9 out of 10 women, there's a statistic that's true, 9 out of 10 women will end up on their own because of divorce or because they live longer, and you're really left screwing yourself if you don't pay attention. You don't know where your money is. You don't know where your money is growing. You know, you're left completely confused and bewildered in a very vulnerable state. And so as you're doing all of this, make sure that, you know, especially in a family setting, that everybody is aware of what's happening, that you're working together as a team.
I think that is the biggest question, is what people are living a lot longer and what is that magic number?